And it's time to review the new Joey Badass album, All-Amerikkkan Badass. New York rapper Joey Badass, he is back with his second full-length commercial album. He is an artist who I've been following for a while now, since his breakout 1999 mixtape, where the dude wasn't even 20 when he dropped that tape. I thought his commercial debut, Before the Money, was really good, but still, I came away from that album wondering, where would Joey go next? Because as good, as solid as that album was, he couldn't stay on this boom bap, sort of vintage 90s hardcore hip hop jazz rap sound forever. He doesn't strike me as a purist or a rapper who's stuck in the past, more one who will continue to evolve as he sees fit. And Joey hinted toward the evolution that would be on this record with one of the lead singles, the song Devastated, which dropped very far in advance of this album. It's a track that, given everything we've heard from Joey up until this point, you just would not expect. It is a triumphant, sing-songy, melodic and smooth trap ballad with an atmospheric, very grand feel. It's very positive, it's very uplifting, and even though this is not a style, this is not a sound that's usually in Joey's wheelhouse, the track has turned out to be one of his biggest singles ever. Definitely his most successful attempt at a pop crossover in his music, even if it does piss off some of his fans who would love to just kind of see him stick to that hardcore hip-hop sound. You know, but the thing is, on Before the Money, Joey had some crazy moments too. Escape 120, most notably. And while a lot of the releases he put out when he was younger were very full of piss and vinegar, over the years that he's been in the public eye, I think his music has mellowed out quite a bit and has grown a little bit more introspective and thoughtful. So going into this new record over here, I was really expecting a mix of sounds, maybe some new stuff, some experimental stuff, some more modern stuff, stuff with a pop flavor. Of course, jazz rap, you know, but like maybe an updated approach. I was expecting at least a couple of tracks that would have a more hardcore, aggressive, in-your-face sound, like the fantastic ROCKABYE Baby single that dropped in advance of this record featuring Schoolboy Q. Q's verse is really interesting on this album. I love how the beat really strips back at the start of his verse, and it really kind of opens up, gives him a lot of room to say what he's saying. Love the line on here where he's talking about, you know, he's at that stop sign, and the other people who he's comparing himself to, they're sort of in an area where there's Wi-Fi. The beat on this thing is amazing. It's heavy, it's rumbling, the bass is monstrous, the beat just knocks so hard. I love the choppy piano samples on this thing, and Joey's chorus vocals getting layered with this demonic chorus is a really nice touch too. There are a lot of musical, emotional, stylistic bases covered on this thing, and again, I anticipated that. I was looking forward to that. What I did not expect, though, was just how conceptual this album would end up being. Maybe not conceptual, maybe conceptual is the wrong word, but for the bulk of this record, one thing is on Joey's mind, and that is the state of Black people in America in 2017. Yes, the title of this album isn't just some, you know, edgy, oh, America, the KKK sort of thing. He's actually trying to make a political statement. And I like that Joey took things in this direction. I like that he gave this album this amount of focus, especially on a topic that, while it has been mentioned by a myriad of rappers over the course of the past few years, it hasn't been tackled for the entirety of an album, at least not on this grand of a scale, at least not on an album that I think has this much mainstream appeal. Sure, you know, Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly, I get it. I love that album too, but a lot of that record comes down to Kendrick's personal experience as an artist. And as a Black man sort of struggling in the music industry, especially with the temptations to give into materialism and lose touch with his roots and his friends and his family. Joey isn't so much talking about things from a personal perspective. He's really trying to attack a myriad of problems on this record, whether it be drugs, police, the judicial system, the prison system, religion, politicians, Trump, Obama, self-improvement, black on black crime. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest. Joey goes into so many topics. He doesn't necessarily come out of this album having solved any of them. And not that I would expect an album to sort of have the silver bullet to these very complex issues. But Joey does really effectively a service by highlighting these issues, venting on them in a very cathartic way, reframing these things so that they seem really personal, they seem really important, they have some urgency to them. They're not just statistics statistics. It's not just a news article. It's one man's passionate thoughts on all of these compounding problems. And Joey's thoughts on these things come from a myriad of places. Sometimes he's dabbling in a bit of extremity and hyperbole and exaggeration to sort of highlight an issue that he's talking about. Sometimes he sounds like and feels like a frustrated revolutionary. Other times he's very measured, very thoughtful. Other spots on the album he comes off really peaceful. Other spots he's tired, he's beaten down, he's worn down. He's tired of the prejudice, he's tired of the grudge holding. He's tired of just this endless cycle of pain and suffering and equality, constantly getting the short end of the stick. Now match these messages with some of the easygoing jazzy instrumentals on this record, you kind of have an equation that most likely you're going to have a lot of impatient listeners sort of tuning out who are looking for something to sort of go wild to or turn up to. This is more of a thinking man's rap record. And hopefully with this album, Joey is able to reach out to some of those people who wouldn't normally contemplate these topics, who wouldn't normally want to hear about this stuff on an album. But for the most part, I am afraid that while this album is very good, it is very enjoyable, and it is very tasteful, I think Joey's going to be sort of preaching to the choir on this thing in terms of the bulk of the audience for this record. Still, though, there are a lot of great tracks on this thing, a lot of smart tracks. The song Why You Know Love Me, one of my favorites on here, essentially a love song, or at least it's framed like a love song. But instead of Joey kind of having this relationship that's on the rocks with another woman, the other person is literally the country that he lives in. You know, another thing I want to say about this record is don't go into this thing expecting some spotty, jazzy, inconsistent, sleepy, conscious J. Cole flavored album. Even if J. Cole is featured on one of the tracks on this record, and he provides a good feature, but honestly, All-American Badass reminds me of something that J. Cole would put out if only he were just like, you know, a little bit more interesting or engaging, or was just kind of popping out of the mix a bit more, had some better hooks, and when he was kind of railing on these topics, came at it in a way where he just brought a bit more urgency to what he was saying, because while tracks like Legendary and Babylon and Land of the Free, these tracks do have jazzy instrumentals and they're very smooth and sort of laid back, Joey's tone on these tracks is anything but. He's over the top. He's trying to shout to anybody who will listen the importance and the significance of these issues that he's so upset by, whether it be media portrayals of black people or the death of Eric Garner, to specifically mention the track Land of the Free. Even though this song has a very kind of cool synth funk ballad that's sort of blissful, sort of heavenly, Joey's delivery on this track, he really feels every bar that he's spitting as if he's having a conversation, almost giving a speech in a way. And another thing I will say that Joey is doing really well on this album, he does a lot more sung hooks on this record than I anticipated that he would, and he really holds his own, whether it be For My People. I like that track quite a bit. Very sticky, very airy, very pretty hook. The song Temptation 2, where Joey's just really kind of giving one of his most passionate performances on the hook. Really can't take it no more. And the horns on this track too. There's something about the chorus on this song that reminds me of like an old soul tune, like he's pulling from Marvin Gaye a little bit on this cut. Now, I'm not going to say Joey should give up rapping or anything, or should become a full-time singer, that he's a more talented singer than he is a rapper, but he really came through with the choruses on this thing, and I'm pretty proud of him for that. I will say, though, there are some moments on this record where Joey is singing or rapping in a higher register of voice, comes off kind of light, sort of dainty, doesn't really have the impact of his mid-range, or especially like when he goes low. When he goes low, man, it sounds great, and that's only gotten better as he's gotten older. But I do appreciate the dynamics that Joey is trying to bring with his voice for sure, because it makes the moments when Joey's really digging in emotionally or going into his lower register all that more cathartic. And speaking of cathartic, the other major banger on this thing is the song Ring the Alarm, which is a really odd instrumental for a rap track. Kind of has this like driving, throbbing bass line, sort of has a bit of a dance track flavor to it as far as the rhythm goes. Sounds like something a pop rapper or Kanye would even be on top of, but Joey does a good job on this beat and actually brings in some features from Nick Caution. We we have Kirk Knight on this thing, as well as Michi Darko from Flatbush Zombies. Love that dude's voice. Wish he'd do more features. And the track just has so much going on because there are a couple beat changes on here, and with all the features on this thing, it's just so many changes. It's so many shifts. Most of it ends up working out. I do think the track in the end does sound like a little bit of a mess structurally. Like there's not a whole lot about the song that's all that consistent because there's always something different just around the corner. But it is a very visceral, very explosive, very exciting track. Now I do have a few reservations about the record. I do think the intro, as good as I think Joey's verse is there, and it does definitely set the political, the social tone of the album, I think he could have gone a little harder. I think he could have been a little bit more explosive right out of the gate because, you know, the first chunk of the record is very smooth, is very easygoing. I think it would have provided a nice high at the start of the album to kind of, you know, just kind of get people's mouths watering for what was about to come. Some of the smooth, jazzy instrumentals on this thing, while I love Joey's performances on all of them, and I do think each performance does have a distinct lyrical and emotional tone, instrumentally though, the album does bleed together a little bit, does melt into itself a little bit. And there are a few tracks on here, specifically the song Super Predator, where Joey clearly goes into his verse and into the track with kind of a concept, a topic here, specifically trying to demystify or attack some of the media stereotypes of black youths. And I think he could have done a better job of fleshing this idea out, untangling it a little bit more. It does sort of lose steam when Styles P's verse comes in, though I do think he does a very good job over there. I especially loved the line where he's talking about not being a chicken. He doesn't watch Fox News. So many different ways you could interpret that line. The way that I took it was sort of Fox News being the aggressor, the chickens kind of being the victim, sort of like a fox in the hen house sort of situation. But still, this is not the kind of album that I think is the solution to all of our problems or anything like that. Even Joey himself comes away from this record with questions of his own. But I guess Joey does the best that he can as a musician to, I guess, at least get people thinking about these problems and just be a little bit more mindful and try to do what they can to either improve their life around them to make better choices or fix or fight the system that's preventing them from succeeding. As Joey posits on the very last track of this album, American Idol, I think this album sort of serves as an opportunity to rethink how we've been dealing with all these issues over the past several years, because they need to be fixed sooner or later. And while I feel like we're more conscious of the inequalities of class and race right now in America, maybe more than we've been in a while, it seems like the solution to these problems is still so far in the distance. But, you know, I will say musically, artistically, this album is very much an improvement on what Joey had presented on his last album. Not only is, you know, there very strong concepts and themes on this album, I thought instrumentally it was definitely a notch up. I thought his performances emotionally and lyrically were really captivating. The flow of the track list was really good. The feature list on this thing I thought was great. This album has so many great things going for it. It makes me so happy to see an artist who I thought had big things going for him, or big things destined for him when I heard some of his early mixtapes, to sort of see that confirmed now with this new album over here. And I'm feeling a strong 8 on this record. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and, you know, please dig on this Joey album because I think it's good. I think it's good. Love ya. Videos and stuff you should check out next to my head. Subscribe to the channel too. Forever.